Right now, while you're watching this, your financial system is doing one of two things. It's either quietly building your future or quietly destroying it. And the dangerous part? You probably can't tell which one it is. Pause for a second, because most people will hear this and assume it's just another money video. It's not. What you're actually looking at is a system problem, and most people never even realize they have one. Most people think their problem is income. They think, if I just made 20% more, everything would be fine. Let's stop that idea right here. If income were the real problem, then high earners wouldn't have financial stress. But they do, constantly. So the issue is clearly not just how much money comes in. But let's be precise. If your system leaks at $3,000 a month, it will leak at $10,000. It will leak at $30,000. More money doesn't fix broken behavior, it scales it. Let's make that real for a second, because this idea falls apart the moment you look at actual behavior. You start at $2,500 a month. You get a raise to $3,000. Within 3 to 6 months, your spending quietly adjusts upward, not all at once, but in layers. Slightly better food, plus $80 per month more convenience purchases, plus $120 per month justified upgrades in lifestyle, plus $150 per month. Now your monthly expenses sit at $2,900 to $3,000. So the raise didn't create freedom, it just recalibrated your baseline spending behavior upward. And the uncomfortable part is this. Nothing in your daily experience feels different, but your financial position hasn't actually improved. Say that again in your head. More money doesn't fix behavior, it scales it. And if the behavior is inefficient, the outcome just becomes a bigger version of the same problem. Money without a system is not freedom, it's just a bigger mess. Now picture this. It's the 15th of the month. You open your banking app. You pause, because something feels off. Not panic. Not yet. Just that quiet pressure in your chest. Where did it go? You didn't do anything reckless. No luxury purchases, no crazy spending, and yet, somehow, it's gone. That feeling? That's not bad luck. That's a system failure. Today, we fix it. Not with theory, not with motivation, but with a 7-step execution system. By the end of this video, you won't just feel better about money. You'll know exactly where it's going, why it's disappearing, and how to take control of it. We're moving from, I hope I have enough, to, I control where every dollar goes. Introduction. This is not about budgeting. Let me be clear about something. This is not a budgeting video. Because most people hear budget and think, restrictions, sacrifice, cutting everything fun. That's not what this is. This is resource allocation under constraints. This is control. This is leverage. This is where almost everyone gets it wrong, because they think structure means limitation. In reality, structure is what creates freedom. Because in 2026, inflation is persistent. Subscriptions are everywhere. Convenience is engineered to drain you. And if you don't actively design your system, you default into someone else's. So before we start, grab something to write with. Because this is not content you watch. This is something you execute. Step 1. The 30-day reality check. You cannot optimize what you do not measure. Before you skip this, you need to understand why this works. Most people will not do this step. That's the point. But let's be honest, most people don't track their spending because they're afraid of what they'll find. Not consciously, but subconsciously, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. So here's the rule. For the next 30 days, you track everything, every transaction, every impulse, every small decision. And when I say everything, I mean the $3 coffee, the $12 delivery fee, the $2 optional tip. The subscription you forgot existed. Because here's the truth. Your financial life is not defined by big decisions. It's defined by repeated small behavior under low attention. Let's translate that into real numbers so it stops being abstract. A normal day for most people looks harmless. You don't overspend. You don't buy anything extreme. But behaviorally, it looks like this. Morning, $4 to $6 coffee. Lunch, $15 to $20 delivery gap, fees plus markup. Evening, $10 to $15 convenience spending. That's $30 to $40 per day without a single big purchase. Now scale that across a working month. $35 times 22 days equals approximately $770 per month. And here's the key distortion. If I asked you where $770 went last month, you couldn't reconstruct it precisely. Because it wasn't one decision, it was fragmentation. That's why it survives your awareness. Now visualize this. It's late, you're tired. You open a delivery app. You don't compare, you don't think, you just tap. That one decision feels small, but repeated 10 to 15 times a month. That's not convenience anymore. That's a system-level leak. And here's the key point. You will never fix what you refuse to observe, not partially, not accidentally, never. And here's what usually happens when people actually do this properly. Within 3 to 5 days, something unexpected shows up. Your projected spending, what you thought was $2,000 to $2,200, starts drifting upward, not because of one mistake, but because of correction bias. You forgot yesterday's food delivery. You didn't include weekend small purchases. You ignored microtransactions under $10. By day 7 to 10, most people discover their real monthly baseline is 15 to 30% higher than expected. On a $2,500 income, that's a hidden $375 to $750 gap. And the most uncomfortable part isn't the number. It's realizing the system was always accurate. You just weren't observing it. Goal of this phase, not judgment, not guilt, just data. Because once you see the pattern, you can break it. Step 2, the 50-30-20 rule, reality version. Now we introduce structure. The classic rule, 50%, needs 30%, wants 20%, future. But let's not pretend it's 2010. Because the environment has changed, but most people's financial rules haven't. In 2026, for many people, needs are not 50%, they're 60%, sometimes 70%. And here's where most people make a critical mistake. They protect their lifestyle and sacrifice their future. They think, I'll save later when things stabilize. They don't, because systems don't fix themselves. So here's the rule adjustment. If your needs increase, your wants must compress, not your savings, not your future, because if wants greater than savings, you are not maintaining a lifestyle, you are borrowing from your future. Here's what the structure looks like when you break it down realistically. Let's say your monthly income is $3,000. Needs, $2,200. Wants, $700. Future, $100. On paper, it looks balanced, but in practice, what usually happens is this. Wants don't stay at $700, they drift. Plus $40 here for convenience, plus $60 there for stress relief spending, plus $100 in untracked friction costs. And suddenly, your $700 category becomes $900 to $1,000. That extra $300 doesn't feel like a decision, it feels like life happening. But structurally, it is your future allocation being continuously overwritten. And that's the real definition of financial instability. Not low income, but misaligned allocation. Step 3, the emergency buffer, correctly understood. Before investing, before optimization, before anything advanced, you need a buffer. The baseline, $1,000. Not because it's perfect, but because it's fast to achieve. This is not optional. This is structural. Its purpose is simple. To stop small shocks from becoming financial setbacks. Flat tire, handled. Broken appliance, handled. Unexpected expense, handled. Because without this, every small disruption becomes credit card debt, stress regression. Let's make this concrete. Your car breaks down, $220 repair. Without a buffer, the sequence usually looks like this. Credit card payment to interest accumulation to reduce next month flexibility to delayed recovery cycle. So the $220 is not the real cost. The real cost is the next 30 to 90 days of financial compression. With a buffer, the same event becomes pay to continue life to no system disruption. Same event. Completely different trajectory. The difference is not income. It is whether your system absorbs volatility or amplifies it. But let's be precise, $1,000 is not the end goal. It's phase 1. Phase 2, 1 to 3 months of living expenses. That's real stability. That's where volatility stops controlling you. Step 4. Destroying debt. Strategy, not emotion. Debt is not just financial, it's cognitive. It consumes attention. It reduces flexibility. It limits decision-making. Most people think of debt as numbers, but in practice, it behaves like constant background pressure, so we remove it strategically. 2 methods, snowball/avalanche. Which one is better? Wrong question. The real question is, which one will you actually stick to when motivation drops? Because it will. A perfect strategy you abandon is worse than a good strategy you execute. Step 5. Eliminate human error. Here's a concept most people ignore. Discipline does not scale, systems do. This is one of the most misunderstood ideas in personal finance. If saving money depends on willpower, you will fail eventually. Not because you're weak, because you're human. So we remove decision-making. The moment income arrives, a percent is automatically redirected. Bills are auto-paid, savings happen before you see the money, because money you don't see doesn't get spent. Step 6. The invisible drain. This is where you're losing. Now we go back to your data, because this is where things get uncomfortable. You are not losing money on big purchases. You're losing it here. Ghost subscriptions, convenience premium. Decision fatigue spending. This is where financial decay happens quietly. Not through one decision, but through accumulation. You order food for $25. With fees, it's $40. That extra $15? That's not food. That's the cost of not planning. Multiply that across a month, now across a year. That's not small anymore. That's structural. Let's isolate one category most people underestimate: food delivery. Home-cooked meal, approximately $8. Delivery equivalent, approximately $20. Gap, approximately $12 per meal. Now assume just 12 orders per month. That's $144 per month in pure friction cost. But the real distortion appears when you zoom out. $144 times 12 months equals $1,728 per year. And here's the key psychological failure. No single order feels like financial behavior. Each one feels like a small comfort decision. So the system never gets questioned, only repeated. Step 7. The wealth gap, where everything changes. This is the shift from defense to offense. Up until now, everything was defensive. Now we move into accumulation. Once debt is controlled, spending is structured, system is automated. You create something powerful, the gap. The gap between what you earn and what you spend. Most people close this gap immediately. They upgrade lifestyle and stay stuck. But if you hold expenses stable, while income grows, you create surplus. And surplus is leverage. Let's simplify what actually happens over time. 2 people earn the same $3,000 per month. Person A consistently retains $250 per month surplus. Person B retains $0. After 12 months, Person A equals $3,000 saved capital. Person B equals $0 after 5 years. Person A equals $15,000 plus before growth. Person B equals still starting from zero. But the real difference isn't the money. It's what that $15,000 represents. Emergency flexibility, investment entry point, risk tolerance, time freedom. That is what compounding actually creates, not wealth in isolation, but optionality. Conclusion. This is an identity shift. Most people will watch this video, understand everything, and change nothing. Not because they don't understand it, but because understanding is not the bottleneck. Execution is. And this is where the real separation happens. Because nothing about this system requires intelligence. It requires execution consistency over time, which means the gap between people is not knowledge-based. It is behavior persistence under normal daily conditions. And that is why most people stay stuck at the same financial level for years without a dramatic reason why. If you start step 1 today, you are no longer most people. You are someone who measures, decides, and controls. So here's your move. Not someday, not next month. Today, start tracking. And if you're actually doing it, not just thinking about it, type, I started, because intention doesn't change your life. Action does.